we are showing the buttons, but they don't do anything yet. So what we want to do now is listen for events on these buttons. Let's start with the simplest one, the action button. This.action button .events .on input down. That's when you click it. .add, and then I'm gonna add an anonymous function here, and don't forget to pass in the context so that you can access this inside of your function. What will happen here? This .player.custom parameters we're gonna define something called must jump, and that will be set to true. When the button is released, so on input up, it will be set to false. How's that gonna work on the update loop? Pressing the button will be equivalent to pressing the up key. So we want to check that either of the two things is happening and that obviously the player is still touching the floor. So we want to have either the up key being pressed or the player custom parameters must jump property set to true. So it's either one that if any of this is true and the player is obviously touching the floor, then go ahead and jump. Also, after you jump, just make sure that this stays false, because you don't want to have, otherwise if you keep on pressing it, it will just keep on jumping. And I think it works better when you have to press it each time that you want to jump. So let's try this. So now it works and I can jump. Now let's implement the left and the right arrows. When you click and release them, it should work the same way, although there's one difference for some other cases. So let's implement first what we already know. This is left. So for the left arrow, in here it will be called is moving left. Will be either false or true, either true or false. And we can duplicate this for the right. So that will be for the right arrow, and this will be called is moving right. And if is moving right is equivalent to the right key being pressed, so we want to have either one of the two being true, should be enough to get the guy moving. Is moving right, and the same thing for the left. Is moving left. Refresh the page, and now see that we can move it on the two situations. Now, I've noticed that you can think that this works fine, but I've noticed that on the phone, sometimes when you're touching it wasn't triggering the down event. So this little thing that I'm gonna do is just because I found that in this way it just works perfectly on the phone. So besides input down and besides input up, I'm going to have here input over and input out. Input over is triggered on the desktop when you hover the mouse on top. But when you're touching it and you keep on touching it, it seems that it also worked in this way. So this is just what worked for me when I tried many different approaches to build these controls. I found that in this way, that's how it really worked the way I wanted, and it had no difference with professional, like commercial games that I played that are platformers as well on the phone. So there you go. You have now working on-screen controls for Phaser, and it not only works with the controls, it also works with the keyboard. And as you can see, it's quite simple. And I hope that this was clear to you and that you can use this on your games and you can obviously modify and have it the way that you want it to work. So let's just summarize the whole process. You need images for your buttons. You place those images on the screen, and you need to listen to different events. When you have when you just want to have a click, you can just use input down and up. When you want to have something being pressed, I recommend also using over and out and down and up, and in which way it will work the way it should work. This is something that might be fixed in or might work differently in future versions of Phaser, but at least when I created this, that's how I had to implement it. You can easily integrate this logic onto your update loop, because pressing the button, it should be equivalent to pressing the key. So using the OR operator, you can make sure that one of the two at least is happening. When you're jumping, don't forget that you still need to check that the player is touching the floor. So you have to be either pressing the key up or pressing the button, and then obviously the floor needs to be touched by the player.